Welcome back to the channel. So here we are with the Wingsy Kits BF 109 that was sent to us as a review copy to build and review. Did the review and the build's taken a little bit longer than I hoped. We sent this at the beginning of the year. What with a number of things, the Wingsy being a Ukrainian company, and with what's going on in the Ukraine, started and is continuing to go on in the Ukraine, that sort of disrupted this build, and I wanted to wait until they were at least sort of ready and able to ship kits, which I believe is now the case, and there are stocks reappearing in the UK and in the distributors. So now's a good time to show you this fantastic kit that's come out of the Ukraine here. Just starting off with the seat, I've opened up that hole at the back of the seat so I can thread the seat belts through. We've got quite a lot of photo etch going into this one as well, with around the rudder pedals as usual, and in the cockpit. So just showing you the fine details there, the sort of foot loops, if you see what I mean. And this one is very well detailed when compared to the Edward kit, which is really the only other one to look at, as the Tamiya kit is kind of a different thing. It's more of a construction kit as far as really fine detail out of the box. You've got to add a little bit to the Tamiya kit. This is very good, and it's showing itself. So we've got lots more detail in the cockpit. It's very much on par with Edward. I think it's a little bit more finesse as far as the detail's concerned, but you don't get coloured etch, photo etch for instance, if you were to get the Profi Pack version. So that's what I'm comparing this to, the Edward BF 109E Profi Pack. So that's what I'll be referring to. So as you can see there, we're starting to make up the sort of front bulkhead, if you were. Now, compared to the Edward kit, this here is the kind of cover for the oxygen tank that sits down by the pilot's chair. The Edward one has the incorrect amount of holes in it. This one has the correct amount, so you don't need to change that. And it's the correct size. The Edward one's too high, sits too high. So that's the first thing. It's looking very good, and if you ever wondered, it should be 3 holes down the centre. It's a nice part, and you just fold it around the plastic part as like a former. You can see the moulded on detail there as well, and then when we get the oxygen tank in, it's looking very good. Detail starting to build nicely. We've got the lap belts gone in now as well, so they're obviously not coloured. I don't think I mind either way. I don't know if I've got a preference. The coloured belts, the paint tends to flick off, and the non-coloured belts, you need to paint them. Now you get, I've cut these belts here, they're connected, and I've threaded them through the hole, and then I settled them down. But neither is right or wrong. It depends on the actual kit that you're doing. You can leave them looped, and then they have like a kind of shoulder loop as well, or you can cut them like that and thread them through. So sometimes they come out the back, sometimes they sit over the top. Depends on your aircraft. Now we're onto the propeller here, which I thought was misshapen, and I talked to the owner of Wingsy, and he did show me actually reference that showed 3 different types of shape to the propeller blade. So I mean, it's right for whichever you want, and he did suggest instead of changing it, it's not wrong, but you could just go over it with a sander, which I've done, and I've got to be honest, it's effective at how much I've changed the shape there. But so that one there is what it comes as the kit, and that is what I've seen reference for, but I've changed it just to be a little bit more pointed. This is one problem. There didn't seem to be enough depth in the hole for the wheels to get the wheel leg, the landing gear leg in, sorry. So I've just drilled that out, and it goes in no problem after that. Again, now comparing to the Edward kit, I think out of the box the Edward wheels are nicer as a feature, especially for painting, but the landing gear legs are too long. These are the correct length, so that's been fixed as well. So these are little things that you have to kind of do on an Edward kit, and they actually make the landing gear door cover longer as well to cover the fact, try and hide it. So there we go. So far we've got lots of ticks and just a little bit of modelling skill as compared to the Edward kit at the minute, but as far as accuracy, this one's leading the way quite considerably. They call out for ROM 66 in the instructions for the cockpit. there's not a definitive answer on either, but the Condor Legion 109s, for me, I think are O2 inside with a 66 instrument panel. But, you know, you can do it any way you want, I think, without worrying too much whether it's right or wrong. And the kit supplied decals gone over the raised bezels on the instrument panel and look very, very nice. Very convincing. Very happy with how it comes out, and they use the PVA trick to show off a bit of lensing effect. And you've got the side panel there as well, which is also a decal. Very nice decals in this kit. Now we get the construction does not of the fuselage does not compare to the Edward one. It's done completely different. And what we've got here is you get two fuselage halves, as you can see, that go together, so you can sort all your seam work out. The cockpit then slides up from the inside. You've got a blank for the engine to show through the covers, and then the wings sort of snap in as well. And you can see here, then the wing tops go on, and you can see the complete difference to the Edward kit, the way it's made up. And you'll start to see the finesse of the detail in the kit as well, which is superior to the Edward kit. And I know a lot of people think that Edward kit is the pinnacle. Well, this is better, so that should give you an idea. So that was a bit of test fitting. So now we've got the cockpit painted, matted down, done a little bit of weathering, just the odd wash here and there, picked out the details, bit of black, bit of brown, painted the seat belts. Now it's time to get the side walls together and get the cockpit tub joined up and ready to go. And as you can see, the construction's absolutely fine. The sort of lower section of the instrument panel slots straight into those slots in both side panels there as well, and that starts to bring the cockpit together. Here you can see the instrument panels now where they've been matted down once we get a bit of focus, and I've added on the gun sight as well, all from the kit. We've got some photo etch parts sticking out, which are two kind of levers. One's white, one's red, as you can see there on the lower panel. This is all kit parts. Obviously, it's a review build, so it's an out-of-the-box build. You can see I've just caught that little bit of photo etch. The photo etch is extremely fine as well. That's something else to be said. Some of the finest photo etch I've dealt with, and that is in regards to thickness. It is fantastically thin, but I don't find that it was brittle. I didn't seem to be breaking it at all because of that. It wasn't a problem. So we're having another go at the cockpit tub here. Now we've got the instrument panel in. And now you can see it doesn't cause any fit issues. Just a little bit of tweaking just to make sure it's in the right spot. And it all joins up lovely. Makes for a very detailed little cockpit. Kind of designed a little bit like how some of the replacement resin cockpits are. They tend to be like a tub like this that you slide up in. But no sanding here, thankfully. It slots right in, and it's a fantastic join. As you're about to see, straight up in. We get the 1 point, little push, and it clips straight in where you need it to be. And there you can see the shroud there as well around the top, which is a separate part, which I've glued in. And it's a fantastic way of doing it. There's no problems, there's no awkward seams, there's no misfit, there's no misalignment. I've pushed the front of it up, you'll see here, and that's easily rectified just by popping it down at a later date. Now we've got the front panel going on, well, the top of the cowling, going on, and I'm just making sure I'm getting my sort of everything lined up here. It does go on, no problem. You just got to make sure it's aligned. It's a bit like Tamiya as well. When some of the joints are so good on Tamiya, if you get it slightly wrong, you end up sanding a lot of stuff that you didn't need to if you just spent a bit more time getting it lined up. So same here as well with the chin intake. As I mentioned, if you've built the Edward kit, it is not comparable to the construction. This is a completely new way of going about it. You also got the oil cooler tank thing. There you go. This is where the front section pops up, and you just slot it back in. There you go. Now you know you're in the right spot. And it's simple as that. And there's the wings together. I mean, we're talking about clicking together. It really is. One thing to note, I think it might be a problem in the production. it's slightly missed. There are hollows out for the ammunition chutes on the underside, but they're not cut out, so you've got to cut them out yourself, which I forgot to do. So that's just a point to mention. They sort of cut in where the bulge is. Look at that for a wing join. God blimey. You won't be surprised to know that this is the best BF 109E series in 1/48. You won't be surprised to hear me say that already, but this certainly is. I've built all of them, I think. Hasegawa, Airfix, Edward. Not built Tamiya. I've built the Tamiya 172nd. But as far as detail, fit, engineering, and having everything in one box, this is just miles ahead of all of them. The only thing close to it is the Edward kit, and this is better in a number of ways. So something to take note of there, I think. It's an impressive model, and it's coming out of almost short-run techniques. It doesn't feel like a short-run kit, but I think it must be the way it's being produced. It's just to such a fine level. And it makes it even more impressive. You just see here again, I've glued up the front section of that chin intake, then just pushing it at the back to make sure it's right. It's the same old thing. Tight joins, you've got to make sure it's in the right place. So you test fit, and you'll be rewarded with not having to sand anything off. So we've got the instrument panel now on the upper cowling piece. We've also got the machine guns in, and we just slot this in now. Sort of slide it in and bring it forward. And there you can see that's where the join is, and when you push it in, it's seamless. We've also got another take as well on the horizontal stabilizers. So you've got this kind of spar that joins into them, and then they feed through that as well, and you get the actual nice little narrow gap that is meant to be there on the horizontal stabilizer join to the vertical stabilizer. There is a gap because they move. It's not a big gap, but there is one. Again, this on the radiators here, fantastic stuff. It's a multi-part construction, and you just wait. You put the both side walls in, and you're sort of thinking, right, okay. Then you put the sort of grills on in the centre, and they do fit tight, but they fit exactly like they're meant to be. And you're thinking, right, okay, this is going well. Then you've got the top piece that's meant to just slot in. And it's, it just slots in. It's remarkable, really. I don't know what I'm expecting. But as you see, it just fits. It's just brilliant. It really was a joy to build. This every way through this kit, I was thinking, well, that's great. You've got photo etch for the moving parts, for the intakes, as you can see. I mean, you can't beat that. That's absolutely fantastic. But the other parts, I mean, is it a criticism? Should there be plastic alternatives? There aren't. So if you're new to modelling, you're going to have to tackle a bit of photo etch on this one. But again, can we build kits for beginners, or should we? I don't know. But I'm not going to worry too much about that. I was absolutely happy to see it. And the eagle eye amongst you might have seen that you didn't have the exit chutes for the ammunition underneath by the bulge. So that's one point you do need to actually cut out. They're there, but you've got to do it. You can see there now the canopy. Look at that for a fit. Front and back section. Then we've got the centre section, slots in the middle. Now, there is one thing to say. You get canopy masks in this. They don't fit very well, and they were quite jagged. They weren't straight lines. So I actually used them, didn't like it, took them off and masked it all myself. That is one thing I don't think you can get around. I saw someone mention it on Facebook, and they were having the same issue. So just something to watch. Rudder going on there. Great. It looks like there's no surface texture on the rudders and the flaps, but there is. It's just extremely subtle. Exhaust going in, not hollowed out, so I have hollowed them out. Which simple stuff really. And you'll see when we flip it around to the other side, that's how they go in. and you just obviously get them glued up. But look at that, the 2 strips of photo etch. Cool. Fantastic, isn't it? You see the surface detail there on the wing. That little bit of filler, that's my fault. I sanded too much. So it meant that there was a little gap, because where I was sanding the nub off, I went a bit too close to it. So now seam checking, getting everything sorted, and putting on my base coats that I do for Condor Legion. So this is uppers are XF 22, which is ROM grey, and then the unders are XF 23, which is, I can't remember what they call it, light blue, I think. And that just gives us a nice base coat for the MRP to work in on. You can see the surface detail there. Now where I've put the cover there for the machine gun access panel, and where I was struggling a little bit to glue it in, I sanded it flush, and I've got just a little bit of the detail taken off, so I'm going to put that back in. And we've got to do the top and bottom seam lines for the fuselage. So we're going to go ahead and do that now using this Teroka tape, is it? Something like that. My process for this is just roll it along, get it sorted, draw it in pencil, so you can then take it off and make sure it is in the right position, and line it up. And if it is, then you've obviously can line the tape back up to the pencil line, and then you can scribe it. That works for me. I have scribed it blind in the past, and then you see there's a wonky line up the top, which is a bit of a pain. You've got to do this with every 109, obviously. It's just part of the kit. I don't think I've seen a way of doing this that sort of gives you a gap. I think the Tamiya kit attempts it. There you go, just using the trumpeter scriber, dragging along. If you don't want to go in one go, I suggest doing it in the sections, because you've got horizontal lines. You just do it between the horizontal line, and then you can just go along and sort of carve that out a bit more. And then you need to go across it as well with those lines, and then we run the riveter in. So I've just sanded that back as well, because I find the scriber tends to give you a bit of a bird edge, so I just then sand that back just very gently, and then what I'm running it through now is to clear out the dust that's in there, really. And then if you see that it hasn't quite made the groove like you want, you can then just line that up now freehand. Difficult to see, but it's there, it's in there. It's an iconic feature of the 109. It's something, you just got to get used to if you're going to build 109s, and find a comfortable way of adding it. And I'm controlling here with my sort of last 2 fingers on my hand when I'm going over horizontally. And now using the Rosy Riveter, which is, I forget the name now. I'll show you in a minute. It's not called the Rosy Riveter. Dusk, I think it is. It's a European company. Roller wheels on a wooden handle with spikes on it that leave the rivets. And as you can see, really nice. And it ties in nicely with the rivet detail that we get in the kit. There you go. Shows up lovely. So there was an issue here. Like I said, there was a bit of a gap. I've lost the painting. Nothing really to report. 2 colours. So it's MRP ROM 63 on the top, and underneath is ROM 65. And the reason I use the base coat is just to then cloud it over and use that as a pre-shade. And I let as much of it as I want to bleed through, and I kind of judge as I'm doing it how much I like to bleed through. So simple stuff, just like everyone else is showing on their painting. I tend to use MRP all the way through. Here we're now putting on the iconic sort of I don't know what it would be called, exhaust staining strip that the Germans seems obsessed with putting on their planes early in the war. You can see it there now as well. You've got on the wing root, that's the width of it. I'm just talking about the decals here, obviously. And just sprayed that on after masking up. You do get it on the masking sheet, but I just used the front section for that. So here we go, using the gloss on straight from the MRP, so we're going straight onto MRP using kit decals. Fantastic decals, really fantastic. I've been building some Eduard kits recently, trying to get my head around, do I peel it, do I not, do I leave it on? Tamiya decals as well, what a pain. Well, it was a joy to get a kit where you just get the decals out, and these are the Ukrainian decals, so I think it's Decograph. It's what they all use, seemingly, and they're just brilliant. They just do what you need them to do. They work like decals should, like they always did. You put micro set on, they go and stick down. You put micro sole on, they eat into the surface detail, and then you start using stronger setting solutions to really bring that rivet detail back through, and then you can go through with like a pin or a knife or the riveter wheel to add back in your details, which you have to do. I mean, you're asking a lot for any decal to get into 1/48 rivets, and the way I do it is slightly out of focus. I'm sorry, I've realised the error of my ways. It's because I'm looking at it, but with the camera in the middle of me, I'm still ever so slightly out of focus, but I think you get the point. I'm catching the rivets with the tip of a needle. Here we go. Right, stay there, Jason, and now do it. No, he doesn't listen to me. So there you can see, after doing that, you can see the effect. Now, long-winded, yes, but I think it's worth it. So it's something I do, and I have got a real thing about making sure decals sink into the surface detail. I just cannot stand seeing a panel line and the decal just sitting over the top of it. So I use the needle to drag down a panel line. You've got to make sure that decal is really sat in nicely before you do that, and that it seems to be the most natural way to get it to bend in. If you cut it, it seems to still flap across the top. Then once you've done that, you add on your setting solutions. So here we are now, glossed back over, and there you can see the effect. And you can't beat it, I don't think. And I think it's something you really need to do if you're going to put decals on a surface like this. Obviously, the other way to get around it is probably the same amount of time. You can see I just caught that slightly. Is to actually just cut your own masks. And it is bizarre, isn't it? The time we spend trying to put decals on because it would take too long to do your own masks. We could learn how to do it, print them and cut them out in the same time it takes to do all of this. But there you go. I think with modelling there's something to do with, there's something to be said about actually using nice decals. And I know you can pronounce it decals, but I don't. So we've added on MRP Super Clear Matte, and now we're into the weathering. Now here, because the matte's gone on, you can see that pre-shading showing through. And that's what I said. You can go right over it so you don't see it, or you can barely cover it with the top coat so it really comes through. You just find something that works for you if you want to do a bit of pre-shading. And I've elected to use Ammo enamel washes. I just find them ease now, and for me to get into weathering I need it to be ease of use. I don't mean I need the weathering to be easy, but I don't really want to be messing about with my own mixes of oils at the minute. It's not that I want to do it fast, it's that I want to work through it in a enjoyable pace, and I find that the enamel washes give me that. They also leave a kind of pigmented slightly look, which I really like. And there you can see where it's rubbed off, it's starting to build up the dust on the top there, which you always see on these Spanish 109s. They're dusty more than anything, and the wing root chipping is generally actually dust and wet kind of sandy dust, because they're flying out of Spanish deserts, which are a bit different. They're not like, you know, the deserts you see on TV and westerns necessarily. They're kind of like sandy deserts that do get a bit of rain. They do get a bit muddy sometimes. So it's quite a unique kind of. It's a bit like if you do armour modelling or later Luftwaffe stuff down in southern Russia. It's kind of similar. Again, it's kind of dry environment, but it does build up. You get a lot of dust, you get a lot of mud, and then the kind of oils and staining effects then cut back through that. So I'm just building this up, really, the kind of stuff you see on armour, what I'm doing here. Just building up through the pigmented solutions, just trying to be subtle. Blending one way, blending the other. Adding depth. Cutting back through it with some washes as well. Just trying to work on it to build it up. It looks quite stark because we're doing it over black and it's kind of like a dust wash. But come the end, I'm very happy with it, I think. I really like the effect. You've got to let these things dry as well. They look completely different until they dry. It's night and day. There you can see now this is the kind of wash that I'm going to cut back through that pigmented kind of dust layer now. And it all comes together to give you quite a nice effect, I think. And then we put on a few more colours as well, and just to try and add that on. And then we go on in with the sort of stippling brush, which is a cut down brush that I use. And I just kind of work it into the surface, and then with a wider brush try and blend it back as well, and just try to take out some of that definition that's there and try and blend it together. And you'll see come the end the kind of effect we get. And just keep working on it basically, like I've done there. And then going to the underside, you can see all it's really had is a panel line wash. I mean, look at how that detail's come out. And look at the detail. Just to the right of this bulge here on the right-hand portion of the screen, more or less where I've just put the Starship wash lid, there should be a cutout just to the left-hand side of it, I believe. And that's where the ammo would be chucked out. And there's an impression on the inside of this wing. So if you're going to do that, you just need to cut that out. I did miss that myself. And now just sort of showing you what I've done and worked on the underside and how we've built this up using various washes. And now it's just onto the wheels. So again, I like to use a kind of dust wash and effect here. So it's around the back and then going up the inside of the landing gear legs. And again, it's the same process. It's using pigments and enamel washes that I've taken really from my armour side. I've just applied it to the wheels. So starting off, we go for a dark, kind of muddy brown, heavily pigmented enamel wash. Pile that on there. But the idea is we're never going to leave it like what we've got. We then thin it down. We just let that sit, and then we go on with thinners to blend it. And then we go on with a different colour after that to blend that back through again. And that's what it's all about. Light blending, a little bit of kind of manipulation as well with thinners, and just trying to get it to look real, really. And that's obviously what we're going for, and look lived in. That brings us to an end. And you can see that the wheels in the final pictures, just by working with the two colours, give you a nice dusty effect. So to round up, fabulous build, fantastic model, really enjoyed it the whole way. Best in scale. This is the best BF 109E version in existence, I believe. I think it's a fantastic kit, nicely priced. You get a lot for your money. I think it is, I can't speak highly of it enough, really. So thanks to Wingsy for sending this kit over. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We've got an E1 to come down the line at some point, and it's nice to have a new Condor Legion 109 in the collection. So thanks for watching. As always, if you like what you see, please consider subscribing to the channel. Give the video a like. Let me know any thoughts in your comments down below. There's videos coming now on a weekly basis, so stay tuned to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.